Okay, there we go. Hello, everyone. My name's Caden. Welcome back to more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Yesterday's stream, we got to the summation examination, and then, yeah, learned more about the fourth case, and now we're about to do this now, I guess. Let me hide this, pull that up, and then, alright, let's go ahead and go in. Load game. Let's continue.
You will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty.
Alright. Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions.
For pity's sake, that little Nepalese oddity already admitted it himself, did he? If he had said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, he could only have been the victim.
The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter.
So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
I really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? I got work to be doing.
Yes, nice shot, but bourbon books? No, not worth a visit.
With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant has then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample ground to convict this man already.
Oh dear. Even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Yeah, why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense? Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue... Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their mind. Well, 4 of them at least. Exactly. We have no choice but to forge onward.
You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination.
Yes, my lord. I just need to keep this trial going somehow, whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke. You can do it. Well, there's 2 statements I merely want to press because they're weirding me. That's because they don't seem very helpful to me. I can just press them all. Why not? Maybe I'll learn something. Little Nipponese obviously already admitted himself. Hold it. Excuse me, but... Aren't you...
Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself, just 2 days ago.
Yes, I had a feeling. I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you?
That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started bossing around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute.
Sorry?
Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals.
Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge.
Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop.
If I could turn back to the clock.
Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. I'm free to make up my mind about who's guilty and who isn't.
Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind given our awkward history. Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now. If he has a woman in green... You're right at the time of the incident. The defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him.
Not quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green was a victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit.
Let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman.
Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes.
But if that's the lies you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible?
Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds?
I can tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it.
I do declare the man has already made the admission. King himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could have possibly committed this awful crime.
Ugh.
If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple.
Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit.
Oh my, you are too kind, my lord.
That went well, for her. The man wouldn't have gone around on the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in the winter. You know what? I want to see the two statements I was curious about. First of all, can you... This is supposed to be testimony, sir. A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes.
Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line here too, and so is my family's.
Ah,
The likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and I do the wife and kids.
oh, I see. That must be very hard.
I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. They're after cheap labor to get roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk it is.
So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you?
That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened, by that old bookshop it was.
What? Another coincidence.
That's right. Near Sachem Street, was it?
Shalm Street.
On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets.
Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please.
What's the point of that? Can't we just get this business over with now?
Please, sir, it's important.
Fine, I'll do it then.
On the day it happened, I was digging up Mersham Street from dawn till dusk. And if I look at the map... Bingo. He couldn't go that way anyways. Pit you against... On the day it happened, I was digging up Mersham Street from the dawn till dusk, and the man would have gone around the houses on his way back to the bookshop, not in the winter.
Objection!
You're both conflicted. Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another.
At odds, counsel. Explain yourself.
Please, no, boy. It wasn't me, I swear.
What? I just want to get it done and dusted.
Well, juror number 3.
Oh, me, sir? What do you mean?
Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of secondhand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Mersham Street, making it impassable, which means that the defendant's route home could not have been taken along Mersham Street and down Briar Road.
Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue that, really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way.
So, the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have.
I suppose that must be right, eh?
Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice.
Yes!
My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may,
Yes?
I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so that we can get to the bottom of what really happened.
1 down, 3 to go.
What about you, sir?
Yeah, who, me? Well, alright then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say.
2 down, 2 to go.
Well done, Mr. Naruto. That was wonderful.
Well, we've managed to change a couple of minds at least. It strengthened our position somewhat.
Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if only we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume. We might be able to tip the balance completely.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've got to do. Ben Zeeks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal.
Thank you, Counsel. On with the summation examination, please.
Yes, my lord. Alright. Alright, I want to hear your statement, old man.
Sorry. Found it, you say? Found what?
No, not what I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often?
I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of oat tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about.
And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question?
Well, I was picking up books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about.
At 5. That's the same time, right? I think it was around 5. Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked. Yeah. Are you sure about the time?
Oh, yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had.
What do you mean?
Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and donked my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up.
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road. Calabash. That's the one on the right side, right? Yeah, it is.
That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Getting down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books.
Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant.
Sorry. Extremely sick. No, I'm quite alright now.
You've changed 2 of the jurors' minds, Mr. Naruto.
Yeah? Just 2 more to go.
Deliver the finishing blow now. It's time to turn the tables here.
Wish I knew how to do this Susaw takedown. I suppose words will have to suffice for now. Which one? Wait. If he said that the woman in green collapsed before his eyes, well, it could only have been the victim. Well, I say that there's a chance he might have seen a certain someone else. If he said that the woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why it can only have been the victim. Against, I slipped over that evening myself on Calabash Road. I knocked myself clean out, you know.
Objection!
Those 2 statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning.
A flaw? What are you talking about, Counsel?
Well, juror number 2. Juror number 6?
Mike, whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you.
Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There's at least one fact of which we can be sure of here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of secondhand titles. He then returned home on foot.
But the man said he has no recollection of his return journey.
That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes.
Yes, we are well aware of this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Objection!
Can we really be sure of that, madam?
Why, whatever you mean?
I'm sure you heard Juror number 6 account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim, who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood.
Oh my!
My goodness. You mean? That's right. I'm referring, of course, to the hard of hearing Juror number 6.
Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was a jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today?
That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has somewhat similar build to the victim.
Well, look at that.
My goodness me!
Sorry. Yippee.
And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell.
Oh, on Calabash Road.
Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing from him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly, the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home.
You hey, old man. You haven't been so daft to be roaming around there. We have boxed this off hours ago.
And really, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat?
What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk on the streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it?
Yes, juror number 2?
My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume?
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty.
Thank you.
And I would too.
What?
Is it a crime to change your mind, is it? Well,
That's 4. Trial continues.
Well, the summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The ayes 2, the noes 4. So the noes have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Oh dear. I need a drink. Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hollowed chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zeeks? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistaken the credit of these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer.
Whatever do you mean?
Objection!
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth.
Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement with which you excavated, sir.
that's right. Took me all day and they paid me a measly tuppence for it.
Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me, do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no.
2 yards is a little less than 2 meters.
Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all.
In other words, a distance rarely vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend?
Eh? Hey, well, I can't say you're wrong, no.
What?
And did you by chance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works?
I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would ever hoped of passing anyway. We just turn any gentlefolk when they come. They just jump right over us all the time.
The accused is no gentleman, as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town.
Is that true? Is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that the books were just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road.
Crushed in a single sentence.
And, old man,
Goldman, you can talk.
you say that at around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell in Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time?
Oh, I can't say that I remember.
You don't remember?
How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was the old man this accused saw, but I will lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it.
Order! Order! Lord Vanzies, explain yourself.
My lord? If you had such trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. Here we go. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over.
What? What are you talking about?
My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses.
It's next witnesses? Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yeah, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright, no matter who Van Zieks brings to the stand as his witness, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. Hi there. Sleepy.
Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
My man's sleepy.
Constable Roy Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir.
He's sleepy.
And I'm Mrs. B. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say that I'm this young town hero's wife.
What's the story here?
Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day.
No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems, tired.
Oddly surprising.
Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beats is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually.
Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. We patrol boarding houses and pubs, collecting taxes, surveying the streets, and checking to make sure the meters are reading true. And they're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our street lamps.
There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago.
But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Barbie is a man of honor.
And a man of slumber.
On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Constable Rolly Beat, sir. Nothing report on the street, sir.
What a great witness he's going to be.
Cut music. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident.
Yes, sir.
Sleep.
Witness's testimony. What the witnesses saw.
It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, and then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock, but Rolly and I both saw him clear as day.
Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say.
Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to positively identify Mr. Natsumi at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative courses of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed.
It's death knell, in fact. Because the alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate chancing. And on your wedding anniversary, too.
Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed.
Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon.
What do you mean by that?
My learned friend, the witness saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure.
Except that man's so tired his wife has to do all the talking.
Enough preamble. Constable Defense, commence the cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord. Alright, I don't see anything popping out at me, so I think I'm gonna have to talk them out first and see what I can find. Because nothing jumps out as being contradictory or anything like that. Press.
Hold it!
No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Miss Beat?
Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply.
Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you?
I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling?
I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there.
Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy.
Oh no, Rolly. I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes, I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes.
That's kind of concerning.
Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy.
Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct?
That's right, sir, yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I serve my city and my queen to the end.
What's that now?
My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. As the noble founding principle of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without grumble. I got a fly in my mouth. I also got my strap in my mouth, too, I guess. Cause I know that running my boots is all Londoners need here to feel safe and secure.
So, fighting crime doesn't appear to be come into it then.
But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. B puts up with a lot being married to a body like me. I just wanted to show my dear wife how much I cared. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rolly.
There's a time and place for everything.
What charming couple. Your young love has such joy to behold.
If a little over the top, perhaps.
And then, kindly describe what happened next.
Two silhouettes appeared out of the fog in the pavement in front of us. Yeah, they would be the green coat and Natsume. What's that? I'm impressed. Two silhouettes.
That's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does.
And you're certain that at the time there was nobody else nearby?
Oh, quite certain. It's dark, but there are a lot of streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There's nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling?
Well, yes, that's right. Of course, there was a light fog on the ground. The Briar Road's dead straight, and you can see a very long way down the pavement. And then there's a street lighting as well. I didn't see any other...
Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer please, Mr. Beats. Are you quite sure of what you just said?
Yes, sir. As a cop who spends all day, every day, keeping watching the streets, I'd swear to it, sir. I'm assured my love for Patricia's trip.
Oh gosh, you're doing it again. They're still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened.
It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run.
Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly.
Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation but just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed?
One of them just collapsed on the floor, then the other scattered something before running off. Press.
Hold it!
Scattered something. What do you mean by that?
Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got closer, I realized it was what it was. Didn't we, darling?
Yes, right. It was some old books.
I see. Old books.
Yes, sir. The culprit dropped them, number of them, all around where the victim lay on the pavement.
Indeed. As clearly pictured in this photographic print.
That rotten Japanese man did when he did the deed.
Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker.
But we saw him. It was a man at the door without question, sir. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat eyes, the top mouth, the snub nose, everything.
Any more insults you want to throw in?
That's right. He looked down at poor defenseless woman with those terrifying intense eyes.
Your guy's about... Is he okay?
And then suddenly threw his books into the pavement and ran away.
I see. This is tough. It seems as though they're telling the truth here.
May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife? Now please, continue.
Yes, sir.
We ran straight over there, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box.
Hold it!
Alright, what about this? Was it your husband who went to fetch help?
No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling?
Yes, that's right. I asked Mrs. Beat to go. I was off duty by that point. But Bobby's never truly off duty, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene.
Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of the crime is a task of considerable importance.
That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box.
Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box?
Depends on the crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where a woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia on the way to the police box for the pizza incident fell under she could pour.
I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know.
And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of two model citizens.
Oh, please, you're making us blush. Isn't he, darling?
Yes, sir. Patricia said, sir.
Let's move on, shall we? It was definitely a Japanese man.
Hold it!
But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you?
We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, have you know?
Can you stop trying to kill your husband? Right.
The light from the street lamps was more than enough. My husband already told you the foot was only light, didn't he?
Yes. And what of the fog?
We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your arm.
Yes, alright, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about?
The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell for sure and certain that was that little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling?
Yes. It was the accused, no mistake. The mustache hunchback cat got some snub. Unmistakable, sir.
As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was the Seki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony?
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day.
Yes, I feel the same.
So if that's true, where does it leave us?
The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after his testimony.
Oh no, then what do we do?
If Cosmo-sama were here,
What are you trying to say?
I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony.
What do you mean, somewhere else?
Statements about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate.
Oh, right.
Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion.
Why do I always seem to be up against it?
Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something?
Oh, yeah, of course. What is it?
Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony, is that right? Is it? Well, out with it.
Oh, for the love of... What? No, it's really not that at all.
My husband's policeman, remember, and I know what I saw. I remember every last detail, everything, like the... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I can tell you the names of every single one. I could. Every single one. And you dare question how reliable my testimony is.
That will do, Mrs. B.
No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that really will.
I really didn't mean to cause offense. Really, put your husband's fist down.
Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. Beat. Might that appease you?
Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling?
Good. Name of the 4 Bingo! Wait, what did I just do? Apparently the scroll wheel works. Interesting. 4. It looks like you just gave yourself up easily. Allow me to ask you something.
Objection!
There's 3. Where's book number 4 at? So you're saying that there were 4 books.
That's right. I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur Somebody, what's the earnings, a meal for someone, and the thingamy's something.
I'm sorry, Miss B. But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours.
Oh no, what flaw?
Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4.
What?
This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books.
Your books.
Yes, and in it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed.
Only 3? But no, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you. 4 dirty old books.
Oh, really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there are only 3 books.
But I just don't believe it. I saw them there. I swear it. I saw them.
No, madam, I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon.
Ah.
So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken.
No.
Whoop! He just sunk.
Objection!
What do you have now, Zeeks?
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend.
What? I need a drink for this.
What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. So you've driven adverse attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair?
He sees right through me.
But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you.
What are you talking about?
It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect.
Oh,
You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene of the Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books.
Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print.
That print? You mean to say... What?
Allow me to present another. One that shows the victim's hand.
It's a... The Lion's Oh, wait a minute. They're involved in this somehow. Why is that book out there? He said that he lost a book called The Lion's Pride, and it looks like this book is burned a little bit. So why is that? It's the 4th book.
As you will observe, The fourth book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso.
No.
Order! Order!
There, you see. Look at that. Look.
Yes!
Just like I said. Isn't it, my darling?
Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir.
Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question.
Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please.
Oh, yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
The picture of Monsieur Lecoy.
What's it, yearnings?
Canterbury yearnings.
A meal for someone.
A meal for Gabriel, in fact. As the cause just heard, the witness remembers the book's titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details.
Mrs. Beat's power of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment.
Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless.
But there were only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4.
There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly the fourth book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I'm sorry, Counselor, but does that not seem odd? Why should the fourth book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photographic clearly shows, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim.
The victim was holding her own book?
I wonder, what became of that 4th book?
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. You will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel. My pleasure, my lord. A second photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident. It specifically shows the victim's hand, and a book entitled The Lion's Pride discovered in the victim's hand at the scene. The prosecution rests. Yep. They were somehow connected.
Look at this. The book has been badly burnt.
You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages.
What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently.
A book recently damaged by fire? Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? Yeah, this is... So they're connected somehow, the Gerdebs. For what reason, I don't know, but there's clearly an involvement. I have nothing further to add.
What?
You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The superior's longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination.
Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I?
You see, everything we said is true. Isn't it right, my darling?
Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat.
So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruto, I'm afraid we're in a terribly precarious position.
I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse.
Think, Reinosuke, think. What do you do now?
There is... I have to bring up the fire. Hold on.
Objection!
I'm not done yet.
No, my learned friend, it's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed.
The die has been cast.
There's no more room for debate.
Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but...
I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down this debate at this point.
Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed. For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this.
Oh,
I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable.
Mr. Naruhodo.
One of this land's great guiding principles is the tolerance, so the court will hear you, madam.
Go ahead, Mr. Sato. Please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine this newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible.
Yes, I understand, and thank you, Miss Susato. This is it. Susasan has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let this go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord.
Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case and has hitherto been overlooked.
It would have to be the book, because of the burn mark.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book, found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know.
Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afford you this opportunity, you would lend the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, my lord. It's,
Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence. Which means, you may very well be on the right track.
Yes, I think you might be right.
So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case which this fourth book conceals?
Got it!
I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question.
The back. What are you... Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp!
So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of my Nepalese friend?
Oh,
Well, I can concede the point. If it bears no relation to the case, there's nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fine damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide?
a charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory.
Don't keep us all waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage this sorry tome has suffered?
It would have to be the owner, right? Because we know who owns it. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth. about the book's owner.
I beg your pardon.
But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell on the floor. After all, it's obviously hers.
The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the question of who book this really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers.
Good gracious, how can you possibly...
Very well. I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay the inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may very well burn you if your little gamble goes awry.
Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book?
Take that!
John Garadeb. The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant had his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb.
The landlords!
And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but... of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for the jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadeb herself.
Oh my goodness, me. I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mrs. Garadeb White. I'm his maid.
Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadeb's house?
I would never presume to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say? You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You smirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the statement, same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's house.
Good lord. What sort of incident, counsel?
A fire, my lord.
Right to say, well, it's happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Pride.
The Lion's Pride!
By Jove, the very same title the subject of this debate.
Oh dear me.
Objection!
This is rightable. All you told the court is that the book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonably, to infer that it magically removed itself from the scene of the crime.
Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garadeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garadeb even amid the flames.
Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so hard to the one you love. Can you, Rolly?
Absolutely not, sir. My position would never raise a finger against me, sir.
All my favorite novels is in that book, in that case. But as soon as the fire got a hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, back up against the window under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No, a thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there is no report of the Garadeb's window pane being broken.
That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garadeb household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time and
Not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No London would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter.
Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, Counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mrs. Gerdeb's wife? Mr. Gerdeb's.
I believe it's a possibility, my lord. That's quite enough. Who said that?
Well, I hope everyone sees you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward.
Really?
Claiming our little tiff would set the whole neighborhood alight, honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name.
No, I assure you, that was never my intention.
Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud, simply to divert attention from your failing defense.
Ow.
I should have boxed your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable.
Ooh, right.
Here we go.
How long have we sat here now, listening to Snippany spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But, think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could have possibly been have stabbed the victim is a little hunchback with a mustache, and he ran away from the scene too.
I do declare you're right.
It's true.
Yes, what did I tell you?
Makes sense to me.
Sorry? What's that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zeeks? In truth, my lord, I feel that these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then, one must always exercise patience in order to save the best vintage.
No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... What?
If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time.
What? No, forgive the discourtesy this time?
In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defense culpability for the culty here.
Guilty. 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 Guilty.
Guilty.
Let's do this again. Summation time.
Thank you for the unambiguous response.
That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruto, don't give up. Mrs. Sato? Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting... Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance.
My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination.
You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve?
I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. But we're continuing this right now.
What do you mean?
Save progress.
I have considered the defense counsel's request for a further summation examination of the jury, and I have determined that the court must uphold defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman.
We are, my lord.
Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime.
All right. Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions.
You goozled us behind evidence at the scene, didn't you? There's 3 books of his.
If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider.
A novel alternative? Even if the woman was throwing books, it kind of been related to this crime if the window was closed, can't it?
Dearie me, it was only a little book. Hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit.
Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'd be in a tiny bit of trouble.
Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. Gave me the sneezes.
Yes, considerably more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time around, it seems. With one notable exception, of course. My learned student from Fred was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover... What?
No one else was even seen at the scene of the scene to commit the crime.
Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it can be argued any other way.
That means, I'm afraid, that during the summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here?
Isn't it obvious?
Who stabbed the woman, and how? Those 2 details are all you need to prove.
Simply give us a name and a method by which the attack was conducted.
And there I was thinking this might be a little hard.
Mr. Hodo, you have to do it. Otherwise, this really will be where the trial ends.
No pressure then.
It's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, counsel?
Oh, yes, my lord. Alright, Rinosuke. Focus your mind now. Clearly, the key to the summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid, or should I say Mrs. Gerdeb. We have a book that disappeared from the Gerdeb's house on the very evening of the incident. And the 4th book found in the victim's hand. There must be a way to link the 2. Yes, that's what we have to find, using every technique I've learned in my short career so far, whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Gerdeb and how she reacts. Even to the things other people say.
Let's do it again. The defense's rebuttal.
Alrighty then. Immediately right off the bat, I want to see 2 things. And it's once again, you 2. First off, you need to testify. You just want to get this over with. How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here.
Well, him and me both then, like I said before.
What?
I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some readies with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down in the Thames Thick tomorrow morning.
What?
You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about, you know. She can be fierce, believe you me.
Another shining example of marital bliss, then.
A situation like this cropped up the other day. It was... well... You know, it's funny, but I can't quite remember.
Sorry?
It was too frightening, that's the thing. I must have blocked it out.
Helpful.
I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf.
Don't even go there, Mrs. Sato. There must be some way to jog his memory about this.
Hold it!
Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case?
Sorry, what's that? You'll have to speak up, lad.
Alright. Could you tell us more about the fire?
It was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. It had 75 candles on top of it. What a sight to behold it was.
You put candles on a cake. Was it some kind of devil worship?
Oh, of course not. It was an angel cake. Just all by my birthday, obviously.
It seems that's common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo.
Anyway, I must all puff from all of my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown gone wrong somehow. The flames didn't go up, but candles went flying all over the room. The furniture car and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke.
Definitely sounds like a devil worship to me. And by sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. But how'd you catch a cold from a fire?
What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, breasted them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then, because the whole room was filled up with smoke, of course, I had to open all the windows to clear it.
The windows.
The biting wind rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did. I got a terrible cold for me. It put me in the hospital for a while. I don't forget that birthday in a hurry.
I knew it was a devil worship all along. But something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. We need to demonstrate who, however, Mr. Natsumi could have attacked a woman, as well he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again, her statements are convinced. Pit them against the false alternative explanations. Just a connection. Connections, not contradictions. But as we now know, there were 4 books, not 3.
Well, what difference does it make?
There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord.
Yes, that's the part I have a problem with.
Sorry?
Well, at the point the woman was stabbed, this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you said.
That's not exactly how to put it, no.
Well, anyway, the point is, the fellow and his wife was somewhere else when it happened.
I think that's what you call a strong alibi.
So it could only have been the landlord who did it, which all leaves the Nipponese fellow. Honestly, I can't see what all this palaver is all about. It's a done deal, isn't it?
I suppose it is, since I've nothing witty left to say.
Hold it!
So, you might be willing to change your decision, you mean?
Oh my, such delight on your face, but I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I am a very modern, metropolitan, and rational woman.
That's great.
If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So I read them in the first place. You see, modern, metropolitan, and rational thinking, wouldn't you say?
And not at all extreme.
As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite 1 or 2 minor puzzlements, I do declare the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic, wouldn't you say?
Overwhelmingly.
But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one.
I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could.
Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady.
Right. I'm glad you made it rational there. Is there anything I can do with this, Did you just change your testimony?
Hold it!
Did you change your statement from before?
Well, yes. It was one of my most memorable birthdays, see? I couldn't let it go unremembered.
I'm sure the defendant will be delighted that you're using this trial to explore your past. And how is it that your memory is related to this case exactly?
Sorry? What's that? You have to speak up, I'm afraid.
Never mind. He's deaf as a post, when he wants to be. But actually, this old man's anecdote might just provide the alternative explanation I need to make my point of some of the other jurors.
Well, you shot the candles on my birthday this year. It's safer that way.
Yep. Alright, I think I got an explanation for one thing. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related. Actually. Can I press you? I feel like you might have something to say about him. Or might jog his memory. But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not?
With flames of love, I'll have you know.
There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb. Can you stop slapping him?
But he brought it upon himself. It's playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree?
Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is a certainly bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Mrs. Garrett.
Never you mind that. Point is, we were just having a jovial little dispute, nothing more. And I won't have any more of these suggestions that it was anything whatsoever to do with this case.
Right, well, we'll see about that. But what about juror number 5? Ow. He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Mrs. Garrett's relentless onslaughts.
It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is.
Hold it!
Sir. Before, I already told you I'm a day laborer. At night, find me floating things. What? You heard me? Well, let me go ahead. Well, first off,
Hold it!
but what about the possibility that the window was open? What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been. How can you be so sure? That Ross Scudeville over there said it earlier, didn't he? Winters in London are no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of cold wind indoors. So no, the window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fire and staying warm, you see. But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. Then what's the point of even having windows, huh? Counsel, you will kindly refrain from childish bickering. Oh, sorry. Somehow I need to show that there's an undeniable possibility the window is open. Because this young man isn't going to budge art-wise. Well, I have an idea. Alright, let me save. So, even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to the crime the window was closed. But you say winter house fires are dire. You have to open the windows to clear smoke. That's when the chill gets you, you see.
Objection!
A possibility is created. These two jurors' statements clearly contradict one another. They do? How exactly, counsel?
Oh, tell me! Don't point at me again! I told you it wasn't me!
Eh? What did I say? Speak up, lad, speak up.
Juror number 3. Do you see?
Oh, me? We'll see what's a...
Did you hear what juror number 6's account of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of a winter.
Well, yes, of course, because of an emergency.
I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from fire, then you'd be mad not to open the...
Oh!
Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garrett household. And Mr. Garrett had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke.
Oh, my...
Oh. Hold on.
Excuse me!
Stop. Juror number 4. Do you have something to say about that? Mrs. Garrett!
Oh, dare me! What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply I'm hiding who I really am?
It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now.
And what is it?
When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window?
I beg your pardon. What are you insinuating?
The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window.
And what if we did?
Bingo.
Oh, right then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering.
Even though your house was on fire.
Oh, you never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It would have been terribly bad for the nerves to do so.
Of course. I should have realized.
That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. We have established that the window was open. We simply must have added Mrs. Garrett's formal statement.
There's a step done. The window was open, I'd clean forgotten, but it's true.
Hold it!
The fourth book found at the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garrett told us he had been reading.
Well, I really couldn't say.
On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading?
I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right.
Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset?
Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on. You as well, you know.
I really don't.
I barely noticed I was throwing a book, much less the title.
Huh? Excuse me. What is it, juror number 5?
You know something? I remember what it was. A memory I blocked out.
Ah.
It was listening to what this granny was saying that brought it all flooding back.
Ow.
Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garrett, or the maid, I'll have you know.
The man doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time.
It was about 2 weeks ago now. I just got back home from after work. I put my hand in my pocket for the wages I'd just earned that day, and I nearly died. It was a hoe. Every last penny I had dropped out.
Oh dear. What a disaster.
You haven't heard the half of it, boy.
Oh?
The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I've lost a day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear, stuck into the wall next to me. It did, about an inch deep.
No words, just terror.
I could smell it then, you know. That god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it?
I'll never use the word lightly again.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose a rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it. Mr. Naruto, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined. No, I wasn't thinking that. Throwing household objects at people is, well, so uncivilized. At least attack with honor, using a bow or like.
What? Attack? Who are you going to attack?
Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think.
Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later if I dare. A woman in a rage will hurl almost anything at you, but the kitchen knife really brought that home to me. I think that's just what I need to get number 2. Pip. A woman in a rage will hurl almost anything at you. Oh, the kitchen knife really brought that home to me. And if there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider.
Objection!
Bingo. Those two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection. Good grief! You mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once. Juror number 2. Do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative?
Oh my, whatever you mean.
An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back.
What are you talking about?
We demonstrated that the fourth book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Garrett's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Garrett household to the streets below.
Well, what's that now?
After all, Mrs. Garrett could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4?
What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole?
I'm beginning to think that ever since the true origin of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened.
Now you listen here, you Eastern Gala. As a former jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house. But what? What was it?
This is going to be interesting. I'm really taking a big gamble here. That was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman. I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Garrett household to the scene of the crime was... the murder weapon, the jackknife.
Take that!
Juror number 4, Mrs. Garrett.
What now?
I must apologize in advance for this. But I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Good Lord, Counsel, what on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged in the victim's back, man. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garrett was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against the window. In a window that had been opened to clear the smoke, through which a book sailed it to land at the crime scene.
You can't seriously believe that. That book, it was found in the victim's grasp.
Are you saying that it flew out the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand?
Huh. If my missus ain't got aim like that.
Yes, I admit. There are many details we don't understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end. Not right now.
Oh my.
Mrs. Garrett, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not? Thud. My lord.
I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all.
Thank you, madam.
Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but... I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end just now with so many unanswered questions.
Mr. Foreman?
I have to agree. Not that I think the granny didn't mind.
Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either. All together now, ladies and gents. Perfect.
We did it! Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo.
So, as a result of the defense summation examination, a number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided. And this trial will continue. Now then, Lord Van Zieks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed?
I need a drink for this.
This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows so repugnant, it's good for nothing save the gutter.
If I may, Lord Van Zieks, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened.
Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond, but let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves with the relative locations of those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time?
It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garrett household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Garrett's house to the scene is some, yes, 15 yards. Let me see. 15 yards. 14 meters. 14 meters. Oh, that's a little farther than I'd imagined. And, as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted as having portentous significance, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book, wantonly heard by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards, to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots.
There's nothing I can say to that. That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice.
Mr. Sato.
Serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he?
Maybe let's pick our own bows here.
My lord, might I be allowed to speak?
As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense. Yes, go ahead.
The prosecution may consider the idea fantasy. But what the defense postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Miss Joan Garrideb, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination.
Saints alive! A cross-examination of a juror. Order! Well, this is highly irregular. This is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
What?
And unnecessary.
More than Zeke's.
There's already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's partial theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have been flown through the sky before this couple's eyes. And we must assume that they would be able to testify accordingly.
What say you, witnesses?
Yes, sir. Constable Roy B. reporting for duty, sir.
Well, good morning, officer.
Sorry for dozing off till now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on account of the villain who's appeared on my beat, sir.
Oh, they are so heroic, these London bobbies.
Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more.
Oh, really, my hero? Make me swoon.
Very well. I hereby reject the defense's request
Oh,
and order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events.
Yes, sir.
Constable Beach report.
This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garza. Believe me, a London Bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on top floor of the Garza house are top-hinged casements.
Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Broly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. Did Rolly, for some reason, tamper with the scene?
I didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for unset moments, sir. Nothing to report on that front, sir.
The only explanation is he tampered with it for some reason.
This is quite startling. Top hinged casement windows. That detail was not in the police reports, Constable.
Yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy.
You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable.
No, sir.
Sorry, but... what exactly is a top-hinged casement window?
And you? You cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend.
Of course! Sorry!
I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your eyes back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's room.
Alright, I'll try.
So the windows open in order to allow air to circulate inside the house.
Oh.
But as it's a top hinged casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see.
I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents that window from being opened beyond a certain point.
It prevents it opening? This is all news to me.
Absolutely correct, sir. No words of a book or knife would have been thrown through the open window. It would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down the pavement below.
No!
You see what the problem then? Good. Your education in Windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered, something we've discounted already.
That can't...
Do you see that, Rolly? The young Japanese man just collapsed in agony.
Oh yes, my God, I saw how it crumbled upon me.
Oh, Rolly, they're so strong.
How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination and already my argument's been destroyed.
Consul, if you could drag yourself upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination.
My lord! Oh good, another desperate situation. Cross-examination. Constable beat a report. So there's gotta be something that's out of the ordinary here.
Hold it!
How can you say that for certain?
Very good question, sir. And yes, sir, is this. As a noble fine principle of the Fourth Regiment, I was reminded of all us policemen of our sworn duty.
He showed us that before, didn't he?
Did he? I can't say I remember.
The patrol the streets of London town uphold the peace of the common man is what the job's all about. And that's why I can stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you Bobby's good for his word. Rubbing my tired eyes admittedly. Sir.
Oh, Rolly, you're so manly.
Of course I am, my daughter, for say so. Stop spinning. Well,
No, this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Gerdeb?
I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir.
Yes, well, so could you answer the question? That was a waste of time then.
Absolutely, sir. But answer to the first ability, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's dispute cannot be related to this case. But before I get into that, sir, just one thing.
Yes?
I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard. So I hope you take back some tales for us London Bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles.
I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here.
So that then, sir, I'd be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears.
Thank you. I'll try. Small folding wall identifies London Bobbies and contains rules of conduct to which they must adhere. Interesting. Allow me to see those. Principles of policing. Item 1. A policeman will strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. Item 2. A patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for the furtherance of community relations. Metropolitan Police Regulations. Item 1. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. Item 2. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Interesting. They must. Okay. Is there anything... Did I ever present this, or press this one? By which you mean they don't fully open, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you just say loud over there, so I see. Oh, cookie. Yes, I must open.
And therefore, anything thrown out the window from the inside room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street direct below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Here is the location where objects would have fallen. Yes. Directly opposite the scene of the crime, on the other side of the wide road. Would it have been so hard for somebody to mention this top-end casement thing before? Well, I have another question for you, Constable.
Yeah, what would that be, sir?
How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house is furnished with?
Well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I help with the investigation yesterday.
Huh? Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add, Mrs. B?
Sorry.
You looked, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that?
Oh, I was just remembering. That's all. We really were so lucky.
Lucky. What do you mean?
Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Roy's beat. It was so...
What? Wait. Rolly, what's your beat?
so close, you see.
Oh, I hadn't realized.
Oh yes, that street, Briar Road, has the boundary between Rolly's Bee and the next one. Isn't that right, my love?
Constable Beat. Nerd.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with the interview in the expensive Garrett household yesterday. And I was on my VC, sir.
That really was cutting it close then.
Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garrett house is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well?
That's Garrett's household. Yes, ma'am. The pavement on that side of the road is my beat.
I see. I was unaware of that.
I just think if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of the Briar Road, you would have never been able to go for that meal to our celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of a Bobby, after all.
Extraordinary people are Bobbies, tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners.
Do you know what I think? I think it was a good Lord's way of rewarding my Rolly for all his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling?
That must be it, my love. That must be it.
I think perhaps we should make sure we have that information officially on the record.
Leave it to me, Mr. Arho. I'll take care of it immediately.
The case file. The payment where the victim was found lies just outside at Constable Beat's beat, the border of which runs down the middle of the Briar Road.
And now it's my turn, I think.
Hold it!
Ah, shoot. Well, oh well. But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark.
Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for our lucky star.
Sorry?
A star that will guide us to eternal happiness.
Can't it guide you to answer questions?
I have a flame boat across the sky in front of us. We've lit up a shooting star.
If I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. That Rolly be an inspector, I would have said. 3 times at least.
Of course, but with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars.
In short, you are trying to say that neither book nor knife crossed the sky for you.
Yes, sir, is correct, sir. Sir's a nice guy and London is stylish, sir.
It certainly seems like he's telling the truth.
And then we saw a poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to her help.
Allow me to see something. A young woman rendered unconscious, stab wound, Briar Road, East Side. Reporting officers Rolly beat.
Hold it!
Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer, is that right?
That's right, yes. If I had been on Rolly's beat, I would know exactly where I was going, of course.
I feel bad, my love. You can't be expected a location of every police box on every beat.
So Rolly told me that way. Only, I sort of got a little lost on the way.
Tricia, my darling, that's why I love you. 7% direction bewitching me. What? Stop.
Oh, please!
So I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, Mike Rolly was at the scene of the crime the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed.
I was off duty at the time, of course, but true Bobby's never really off duty, sir.
Hold it!
Nothing to report.
That's correct, sir. My eyes wide open the entire time, never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. I can swear on the honest yard's honest, sir.
Really? That seems a little strange.
Beg your pardon, sir. Strange, sir. Seems altogether regular to me.
This burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally in the Garrett household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hands of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time?
Aha! Could be a different copy, sir. Why does this happen to be burned as well?
Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As we can see from the photograph print, she had a bag over her shoulder.
Sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment she re-arrived at the scene.
Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. The two mysteries of how the knife ended up in her back and how that book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. Oh, here we go again.
Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir.
Oh, yeah, sure, of course. What is it?
You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell.
What? I wasn't really... I mean, what's she doing?
Please, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that my testimony is any less valuable. You might just see me as a wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am.
I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you.
No excuses. I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you?
Yes, Mrs. Beats, I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the sage one.
That was a very loud mutter.
That's right. I heard that. That Japanese man thinks a police wife's word counts for nothing, does he? But watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Rolly won't.
Duly noted, Miss Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue.
What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder?
I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though. What? What? This is useless to me.
Hold it!
What does this do for me? Mrs. B, nobody's questioning what you've told us.
I saw I did. That evening I saw it clearly. That little Easter man with the whiskers and the fine curved back slinking away from the scene.
Huh.
And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky.
Oh, very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction.
Oh, yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Rolly. He gets ever so cross.
Rolly?
Excuse me.
Mr. Bate, Constable Bate. Is there a problem? Bird.
No, sir. No problem, sir.
Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps?
Oh, well, in a way, sir, yes, sir. I was just remembering that same thing happened that evening is all.
You mean Mrs. Beat lost her way on the night of the incident?
Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine. But she was gone a fair bit longer than I was expecting. I thought she'd be back in 10 minutes, but my darling gone for a good 15.
Oh, Rolly, you're such a tease. The reason I was gone so long is because of the bouquet, silly.
The bouquet?
Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about?
Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Really so romantic. He saved for the crib with farthings and half pennies he found in the gutter while he was doing his rounds.
Huh. As soon as you said that, he seemed to get a little stressed or something. Yeah, how romantic!
I forgot all about it until just now. Had you, my darling?
Oh, yes. But that was just between us. No talking about it to anyone else. Darling, you have problems.
Oh, really? Oh.
What was that all about? Constable Beach looked very obviously troubled during the exchange.
I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mr. B about the bouquet.
Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please.
Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to.
I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. Where is this bouquet? This is a long testimony, my lord.
Hold it!
You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime?
Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset. When we ran over and saw it was a woman with a knife in her back. I was so shocked I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. It was dark in a dark spot where the streetlights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first.
And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on.
Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all.
In case you need reminding, Miss Beats, the victim is not deceased.
I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road.
Your husband, presumably?
That's right. Silly me, I'd gone over to the wrong side of the street. Although, I'm going to blame the bouquet this time. I can't think of how it got there. I really can't.
So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar Road to the opposite. Curious indeed.
Isn't it? But the worst of it is I forgot to pick up the bouquet again. And when we left the scene, that beautiful rose Rolly bought me with that change from the gutter he spent so long collecting.
By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this sorry solitary rose?
Oh, yes, that's what it... That's the bouquet Rolly bought me for my anniversary with bits of old change he found in the gutter.
May I just call it a rose?
Tell us, Lord Van Zeeks, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Garadeb household.
In front of the Garadeb's house.
Although, it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be no relevance to the case since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare.
Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. Can I have it back now, please?
No, I think for good measure, this rose should be added to the court record as evidence.
Oh.
Present for Patricia Beat from her husband Rolly. The shock of seeing the stab victim caused Mrs. Beat to drop the rose where she stood.
But it's a symbol of our love. I want it back out of the trial, you hear me? I want back.
Good grief. Rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Miss Beat. Nothing strange to report on that front? What about the moving rose? Like, I would think that's strange, wasn't it? Actually, I should check this. Nothing.
An English rose. It's such a beautiful flower.
Ah, this is a rose, is it? Never seen it before.
Do you not take an interest in flowers, Mr. Naruhodo?
I wouldn't say that exactly, but I do know 3 types at least.
Gosh, 3?
Yeah, plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom.
Perhaps you should consider branching out. Learn some of the art fruit-based tree race, for example.
It's very stylish paper with the flowers wrapped in, isn't it?
It's just an old newspaper, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, I suppose because I'm not used to seeing English print. Looks so exotic to me.
Ah, I see.
Is something wrong?
No, I was just thinking about if you wrapped a stone-baked sweet potato in English newspaper. It might look like some sort of fancy cake.
That's son, you do love your cakes.
Objection!
What about the rose? You claim, Constable Beat, there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. That cannot be.
What do you mean to say?
In your testimony just now, Mrs. Beat, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime, with the police assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road, where the victim was attacked.
But considering the size of that mega bouquet, if a single sorry blossom can be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs.
Meager.
Objection!
But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact?
No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore that on Scotland Yard's honor. But bouquet belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why I really didn't mention it, I'm sure.
No, because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around.
What are you talking about?
Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Garrett's book. Mr. Garrett's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out of the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime, here on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's house. There's no logical explanation for those things unless somebody deliberately moved them.
What are you trying to say? The way you're talking sounds like you think my boy's done something wrong. You don't listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says. Whittering on about books and bouquets. Why should we care? Nitpicking, that's what it is.
Oh good, Mr. Garrett's come around. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garrett, but deliberately meddling with the scene of the crime is a criminal offense. It's called,
tampering, Mr. Naruhodo.
But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it, for a very subtle but compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering. You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend, who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception?
Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person.
Consul, I must demand you substantiate your conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime?
There's only one person that I think it could be, which is Roy.
Take that!
Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Royley Beat. It was you.
What? A policeman? A member of Scotland Yard?
What nonsense! Why would my Rolly do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. No Bobby works more tirelessly for the people of London.
Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box as the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it.
You're making it up. It's all nonsense, all lies. What about the Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
Objection!
No. If that was true, Constable B would have seen him do it too.
Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. B, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Well...
Objection!
First you make accusations about the landlord and his wife. Now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusation lacks one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with, but there is only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime, to hide something.
That's right. He's right. My husband and I just happened to be there. That's all. So why would he have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense.
You've offered no motive for this alleged tampering, and until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats.
Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair.
Mr. Naruto, have you managed to solve this mystery?
Consul, you have made a very serious accusation against a London police officer. If you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrevocably damaged. With that stock warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the motive of this alleged tampering.
Yes, my lord. Constable Beat's motive for tampering with the crime scene was to hide... I think it's where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what the Bobby had to cover up at all costs.
What? Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavements of Briar Road. We saw what happened, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't know.
That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all.
What? What?
I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Consul.
If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nibonese friend. Where are you proposing the crime actually took place that evening?
Isn't it obvious?
Take that!
But that's on the opposite side of the road.
I don't understand.
On the evening in question, Mr. Garrett's book fell directly down from the open window above, and your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself.
Good gracious!
Objection!
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right. I saw it with my own eyes.
It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was a typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, that was actually on the west side of Briar Road.
No, that's not true. It can't have been.
Constable B then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in this print, the victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road.
Extraordinary.
But the constable overlooked one thing.
What do you overlook?
The bouquet, I presume.
Exactly.
Prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Zee said it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light.
Yes, it couldn't have been seen in the dark, obviously.
Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable royally beat.
Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to start off again, but I haven't slept very properly in a month. Did I miss anything important?
Oh, Roy, it isn't true, is it? What the lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is, because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know. I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out. Everything exposed. Only, it seems, it wasn't a dream at all.
Good golly. Order! What on earth is the meaning of this?
Oh, Roy, why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it?
Wishing the victim dead should be one too.
Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London town.
I can't say, sir.
What?
I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation, for everything.
I have a possible explanation for why, on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason.
What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of Scotland Yard policemen.
And yet, Lord Van Zeeks, it is this foreigner who's uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please.
Yes, my lord.
Now then, I think you'd better show some evidence.
At once, my lord. England, Japan, it makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions.
What gives away the motive for Constable Beat's unthinkable actions?
It would be this. I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and have only just arrived from Japan. Which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learnt that, though, Honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example.
Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly.
But for Constable B, the day in question was special.
Special?
How? On account of this bouquet, my lord.
Oh, yes. It was our very first wedding anniversary.
Constable B had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife, and was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal.
when he and Mrs. Beats stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, what must have gone through the man's head?
But sir, just that particular day I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. B put up with a lot being married to a bug like me. I want to show my dear wife how much I care.
This is the warrant card that Constable B offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigations and help detectives. Uh-huh. Constable B. Is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day?
Yes. Everything you said. It's all right.
So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beats.
Oh.
Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat.
Good gracious! Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you've done?
It was the first time since I became a copper that I'd ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. We've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then, it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, the policeman must assist with the initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why did it have to happen here? And why did I, of all nights? Why? It's a copper's job to guard the scene of a crime, so I told Pat she had to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. So you'll have to go to the police box that covers it, turn right along Merselm Street, and then...
Well,
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
oh, Constable.
I just wanted... just that one night to take my producer out for dinner. Oh, Rolly. Just that one night.
You know that if the incident was on your beats, your evening of celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction. Just across the street, to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care.
You see, I thought... well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, of course he did. Well, otherwise, my Rolly would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement.
I see your meaning now.
But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat.
No, Rolly, that was all my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rolly.
And can you tell us, Constable, how many books did you move from one side of the road to the other in total?
Oh, 4 it was. Yes, definitely 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Garrett household, of course.
But what made you place the book in the victim's hand? When all the other books were scattered haphazardly around, I mean.
Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it.
How you found it? What do you mean?
When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
You're sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding?
Oh, yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir.
Interesting. The 4th book. Book titled Lion's Pride was in the victim's hand when Mrs. Beat ran over to see what had happened.
I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. However which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off and done it. I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think of moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is for me now. I've had it.
My lord. Yes, Lord Van Zeeks? I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Constable, you may withdraw.
Yes,
Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What will become of my Rolly? What will happen to him?
For now, you are free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please, don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him to come home late.
leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired.
Alright then, my love.
One last thing, Constable.
Sir.
Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you.
Yes, sir.
Carve that lesson into your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime.
Never again, sir. You mean to say...
Leave now. This trial is not yet over.
Yes, sir!
Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Whoever thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of the crime like that? Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here. Principally, that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could possibly have committed this crime.
Objection!
No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there is someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of the possibility already.
Lord Van Zeeks, is this true? Very well. Name the person, if you will, and if further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. You will name this other person who could have perpetrated the crime.
Well, this is going to be interesting. The juror is now part of this. The jurors are supposed to be not related to this. And now, the murder may very well be an accident.
Take that!
The defense would once again like to request the cross-examination of a new witness, my lord.
Once again.
My assistant made the same request earlier. In order to finally reveal the truth about this case, it's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Miss Joan Gerdep.
Me? Oh, dear me.
Objection!
That request has already been denied.
Objection!
But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garadeb, answer me this.
What do you want now, you little toad?
At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. Jobin Garadeb. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited. And to clear the smoke from the window, your husband opened a window that looks out over Briar Road.
What of it?
You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of when open-topped hinged casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident.
Yes, and I said, what of it?
During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garadeb. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back, have you really never laid eyes on it before?
I don't recall it.
Seriously?
I suppose remember everything I picked up through my husband. And anyway, the man over there in the guy said the members of the jury needn't testify, didn't he?
Conveniently, yes.
Objection!
What?
No, I have no recollection of saying that at all, juror number 4.
Huh?
Make no mistake, your jurors are not special in any way. You are not immune to the judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madam, let the truth come out.
But that's just a common garden knife. It could have come from anywhere. We have several like that at home. If one went missing, how would you expect me to know?
What's that?
Are you joking?
What are you saying? Please, Miss Garadeb.
You listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injured someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it.
Oh, the poor woman.
So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife, if that's what you think. Come along now. Chop, chop. Do your worst.
Well, Mr. Arhodo, if I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already.
Then take the stand, juror.
Oh,
The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman. Thank you, Lord Vinzeeks.
I'm going to have to testify.
Juror number 4, as I'm sure you will appreciate, having observed it with your own eyes today, witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of what the witnesses themselves may not even have been aware.
Oh, dear me.
So I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Miss Garadeb. And mark my words, in this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels?
Certainly, my lord.
Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. This is such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here, in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer.
Witness, state your name and occupation.
Oh, yes, my name is John Garadeb. And I'm a juror, and such like.
It sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or a maid, or what anymore, really.
The court has decided your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madam?
Yes, my lord.
You will tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question.
And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth.
Oh, dearie me.
Oh.
Shut up, Joni. Nothing to worry about now. How'd I get here?
Oh, I didn't know you were here, John.
Oh, is it gonna be a double?
Wasn't only in the room that day, young old thing. Wasn't only you in the room that day, old thing, was it? Right, rather think I ought to testify as well, don't you?
But what about your near dear?
Don't you worry about that. I already knows it. I'm not the sort of chap to lead a comrade to face disciplinary action alone.
Oh, Sean.
I presume you're Mr. John Gerda? Yes, sir. Former second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment and 4th North Number Land Fusiliers, sir. Seen my fair share of action and now living in the quiet life, as it were.
The quiet life. Were you not engaged in incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question?
Well, yes, quite. I believe this may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question. Sir, at once.
We're getting close, I imagine. The Battle of Garadeb.
Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. Knocked candlestick over and settled fire to copy it. Soon had it out, though. Got the window open.
Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him.
Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I noticed if 1 or 2 were missing, I'm afraid. If that bally thing the victim's back really was one of ours, you'll have a job proving it, I think.
It sounds as though it was quite the battlefield in your household that evening. Although an entirely one-sided assault, it seems.
The enemy caught us on the hop, sir. Had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if the enemy had kept shelling us for another minute, we had been toast. Of course, a veteran such as myself is only too aware that on every battlefield you're just a gnat's whisker from death at any moment.
Are we still talking about marital quarrel here?
Well, I must say, I'm dubious that this testimony will shed any light on the origins of this jackknife.
In combat, one's focus nears such that surroundings are barely noticed. These witnesses may not be able to offer anything more than they have testified already. This may be a dead end. Van Zeeks may well be right.
Well, whatever the chances, we only have this last cross-examination to cover the truth, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Very well, Consul. Begin your cross-examination.
This is it. Final cross-examination for now. Battle of Garadeb.
Yes, on the day...
The reason is what you told us yesterday, I believe.
Yes, that's right. If I remember correctly, it all started because of a note that was tuckered into the pages of the book belonging to Mr. Garadeb.
Rather passionate note, in fact. But Mrs. Garadeb found the note, discovering her husband's little secret.
And she gave him a mighty number of slaps across the face for it, too.
What a sordid state of affairs.
Hell on earth.
I say, when a chap says he can't recall such things, it's common decency not to drag it all up. And besides, half of it was right on the mark. Anyway.
A likely story?
A likely story.
These waters run very deep.
And what have transpired next after these multiple blows to the face?
Wrong.
Hold it!
And the fire also spread some items of furniture, didn't it?
No case, my armchair. Anything of mine, really. Just so happened there was some basketball around that evening, so I just lost that, put it out. A most precarious situation you put yourself in. Oh, this is a 3-story townhouse on the west side street where the water main isn't connected yet. had to draw water from the public water pump during the day if you need any, you see.
The lodgers were always moaning that they can't get any water at night. Hello, that little mustached Japanese man buys water in bottles, I believe.
The defendant, Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, he receives a stipend for his studies, you know, from his home country. Can you imagine being able to brew a hot tea at all hours? He's obviously very well off.
Have you actually seen the state of the man?
I believe he uses all his income to buy books.
Well, anyway, the point is, I was able to douse the fire with water, fortunately enough.
Hold it!
Even though the room was on fire...
As far as I was concerned at the time, it was more important to extinguish my anger than the flames. When a woman wants to throw, she must throw. As was certainly not true of a solid takedown, Mr. Naruhodo.
How did she know I was thinking about it? So, please cast your mind back and try to remember. Was a knife among the items that you threw at your husband that day?
In all honesty, I don't remember. But I feel I must point out that I'm no monster. Let me see. Some bread, a cabbage, garlic, a towel, and a sponge, a napkin.
Jupiter!
And a man?
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, sir? Mr. Gerdep.
Johnson! Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind?
Nothing of any significance, no. Just that the barrage of projectile throwing launched in my direction was somewhat more solid than it implies. Books, bricks, and the fire poker, I seem to recall.
Ow.
And the woman's aim is uncanny. She landed a direct hit with every volley. Ah! Good grief, woman, we're not at home right now. This is a court of law.
Oh, dearie me. I'm so sorry, dear.
What's she even doing with the teapot in here?
Honestly, John, I would never throw on such things that you obviously...
Wait, did she just... I just realized. She poured that into his pipe. What? Excuse you? Okay.
Well, take a look at this, then. How do you suppose that happened,
Your pipe, sir. Your pipe, sir.
Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles, she did, yes. And when I went to pick the thing up, it was broken in two. I'd like to see a sponge do that sort of damage.
I see. Your pipe was broken.
It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Anyway, I've managed to bandage the thing up for now.
You are one to exaggerate, aren't you, dear?
I wonder what we should make of this account. It could be important. The defense believes Mr. Gerardov's remarks just now to be of great significance.
Objection!
This war veteran's words only tell us one thing. Betray a fiery wife, and pipes, as well as hearts, may be broken. Sentimental wisdom, perhaps, but hardly worthy of adding to formal testimony.
Indeed. Common sense, one might say. Might one?
In that case, would you at least permit us to examine the pipe, sir?
Well, I just don't see why not.
Oh, dearie me. There you go again, trying to ingratiate yourself with a young lady.
Very well. The court will accept the gentleman's pipe as evidence. Apparently it fell to the floor during a domestic dispute he had with his wife and broke.
Hope I didn't speak out of turn, Mr. Naruhodo. I was just feeling rather disappointed for you that your request was turned down.
Oh no, it's fine. Thanks to Sasa-san, we have some new evidence to work with. We should examine it carefully.
Well, thank you for that rebuttal, Mr. Gerdeb. Now if we could return to the crux of the matter. What can you tell the court about the knife used to attack the victim?
Present. Let me see that pipe. It looks to be in a sorry state with that bandage around it, doesn't it? But for some reason, it feels slightly ominous to me, like it's trying to shout out a warning. Probably because it's the same blue as Mr. Garrett's dressing gown.
I suppose it must have been considerable sentimental value to Mr. Gardeb, given that he's gone to the trouble of repairing it like this.
Either that, or he can't afford to replace it. Anything else? Bingo! This case is solved, I think. Oh, something just twinkled in the chamber of the pipe there.
Yes, I saw it. Something's stuck in there, I think.
Let's turn it over and give it a shake. What's this?
A tiny fragment of metal. It looks like the tip of a blade or something.
The tip of a blade? Surely, it couldn't be. A small piece of metal looks like it might have been the tip of a knife blade. It was stuck inside the bowl of Mr. Gardeb's pipe. Hold on. That bally thing in the victim's back really was one of ours. You'll have a job proving it. I think this is it. Alright then. Maybe I should check though. If I go to this...
Oh, look here, Mr. Naruto. Just the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing.
Wait, part of it's missing. I could be wrong, but I just got a feeling. You remember this?
Oh, that's the tiny fragment of metal we found inside Mr. Gardeb's pipe.
Yeah, and just maybe...
Oh my, it's a perfect fit.
Somehow I just knew it. Alright.
Objection!
Mr. Gardeb, could I ask you to take a good look at this, please? You can ask, but I can't see a bally thing. You can't? They used to call me Dead-Eye Deb back in the regiment of the course, but that was some time ago now. Even when I'm trying to enjoy a large print book by the fire these days, I struggle to tell B from a D and a B from a Q, to be honest.
Oh, he does. Dearie me, it's rather wearing to be asked every other letter and every word.
You must D very doesy. What is that? A tiny scrap of metal. Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first to be a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence. Interesting. And where did the defense come by this piece of evidence? It was lodged in the chamber of Mr. Gardeb's pipe. My pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got in there. And what precisely does this fragment of metal signify, Counsel? Are you suggesting that it is in some way related to the matter of the stabbing on Briar Road? Whew. I am. What? When put together with another piece of evidence already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of this case, my lord. You appear rather confident in that extraordinary statement, Counsel. Very well then, present the pertinent evidence to the court. What evidence, when paired with this fragment of metal, allegedly reveals the truth of this entire case?
Take that!
This is the knife that was found in the victim's back. If you look closely, you'll see that there is a small piece at the tip of the blade that is missing. A common issue with the inferior blades sold at the unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly would leave the tips lodged in their victims' bones. And what of this particular knife? No doubt its tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim.
Objection!
No, that's not the case. The tip of this particular knife's blade is the very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. Gardeb's pipe. Good grief, Lord Van Zeeks.
I don't believe it. The knife from the crime scene and this fragment of metal are a perfect match.
Good golly gosh! Why do you have a hole in your pants? Order! Is this some sort of Eastern sorcery?
This is no magic, my lord. This
is a miracle. A miracle? So Van Zeeks has figured it out, has he? Counsel, explain this extraordinary coincidence at once. Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have to ask ourselves here is when did the fragment of metal find its way inside Mr. Garrideb's pipe?
Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony.
Got this thing in my hand as usual at the time of his onslaught. Knocked it out clean with one of his soft projectiles, he did, yeah. I would never have been, it would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Oh, dearie me.
During the argument between the two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. Garrideb flung this knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. Garrideb, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time, which caused the tip to break off, of course.
Good lord.
Yes, and that is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside Mr. Garrideb's pipe.
The chance of that a million to one.
And yet there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then, after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out the open window. In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the Garrideb's house, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back on the street below.
Gosh, oh dear.
Objection!
What now, Zeeks? Why are you drinking? What have you done?
A full-bodied theory, I'll give you that. A complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points, plausibly arranged to create an almost passable vintage. Allow me to toast my learned friend's characteristically Nipponese approach to bottling his argument.
Sorry?
But after all, it is just a theory. The bottle, I fear, is called because you see.
But
It's spoiled by an insurmountable inconsistency.
an insurmountable...
Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself. What's this inconsistency you claim to have identified? An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with the knife planted in the middle of her back.
Yes, in her...
That's right. You silly little man.
Ow.
So no thing. What are you getting so excited about? Let's consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground. If the knife struck her, had fallen from above.
What?
If there's no possible way it could have planted itself in the victim's back.
Order!
Quite right. You see, that's exactly right. If the knife fallen on above, it would have struck her on the top of the head.
Well,
He's lost for words. Look. I knew it. I never liked his theory in the first place.
I don't know. What really did happen?
it would seem defense has made a rather spectacular blunder.
If a theory has even one inconsistency, it cannot stand. Your theory, my learned friend, is history.
We were so close. I could see the truth. I was so sure we were on the right track. But now the way has been blocked completely, just by one simple inconsistency. Or in other words, we simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency, and the theory will stand. Mr. Sato.
You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. You were just caught off guard, that's all. And your mind went blank. But if the path you were on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself. The key to this is the court record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there.
It seems you have nothing to say, my Nipponese friend. Well, your silence speaks volumes. A tacit acceptance of your theory that is fatally flawed.
Objection!
This inconsistency doesn't mean I was on the wrong track. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. It's a test. Yes. If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way it could have hit her in the middle of her back. Under normal circumstances, that is.
What are you implying?
Counsel? There is a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain this inconsistency. That can explain how the knife that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. We already have the answer.
Goodness.
Utter madness! Surely this mustn't be the last time. This must be the last time. Counsel, present the evidence of which you speak.
This is the last inconsistency, the final piece in the puzzle. If I can successfully make this sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. The evidence that explains how the falling knife became lodged in the victim's back is... Wouldn't it be this?
Take that!
This, the fourth book found the scene. This is the final piece of evidence the defense will present.
That book? Is that not Mr. Gerdeb's book?
Yes, and to understand its significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. This photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand.
But as we all know, oh no. It was the police constable who put the book between her fingers like that.
Quite so, as part of the wholesale transplanting of the crime scene to the opposite side of the road.
That's true. However, as part of his testimony, Constable Beat made an extremely enlightening statement on that point. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand?
Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. When we first ran over the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
In other words, the victim had already picked up the book up of her own volition. And clearly, that must have been before she suffered this knife wound.
Well, I should say so. After being attacked with a knife, I don't imagine she'd been doing much of anything.
So, the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand?
By Jingo. I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now.
Oh, dearie me.
We know that the book fell from the top floor of the Gerdeb household onto the pavement below. At precisely that moment, the victim was walking past.
Yes, at exactly that moment. The young woman was walking along the street in the light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her.
The book I threw.
Yes, Mrs. Gerdeb. And what do you think the woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement?
Well, I really can't imagine it, but I suppose she might have reached down and picked the book up.
Yes, that is exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book.
Oh heavens!
And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then, in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book, the next object fell from the room above, the jackknife, straight into the middle of her back. And at that same time, walking by chance directly behind the screen, was the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume.
But I never...
It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor, in the dark of the fog. He didn't see the knife falling on her from above.
And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker.
So there never was a real culprit to run from the scene in the first place.
No, this was nothing more than a series of unlikely events that culminated in an unfortunate accident. And that is the real truth behind this case. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Gerdeb?
The very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wondered if perhaps it might have been something like that.
That old bean.
Poor Mrs. Gerdeb.
Of course, I never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book, and I threw the knife as well. Sean, dear,
It's alright, I know.
I'm ever so sorry. Truly.
But too heavy.
Grab. Well, there's that.
Lord Van Zieks, what news of Mrs. Gerdeb? She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events have left her in an especially flustered state. However, I believe she will recover in due course. There is no cause for concern. Yes, unbeknownst to themselves, that their cause what could have easily been a terrible tragedy. They shall have to prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions. There is some good news there, however, my lord. I've just had word from the hospital where the victim has been treated. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she will regain consciousness soon. It's strange. We've been talking about the victim all this time, but we've never once met her.
How wonderful. The woman is out of danger, it seems.
Yeah, that is good news. So, Mrs. Soseki Natsume.
Yes.
On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. You came from your distant eastern homeland to study our great British culture, and you've been repaid with immeasurable unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies.
No, it is me who should be begging your pardon.
Oh no, Mr. Natsume.
That evening, when the young man just collapsed on the pavement before my eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again in my confusion.
What conclusion, sir?
I was sure that the woman was dead.
Yes, Constable Beats said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she'd been killed, too.
I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless.
It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to life here. I can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in the fog, like they're haunting me.
Poor Soseki-san. His imagination really has got the better of him.
Yes, poor man.
So when it happened, I thought the young woman had been taken by the fog spirits. I should have never dropped my books like that and run away. I should have called for help, like for a doctor, for the police. Instead, I managed to create a rift in the relationship of trust between our two empires. And for that, I am truly sorry.
I don't think you did anything, sir.
One could indeed say that some sort of mischievous spirit has been at work here, I think. One that created a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We were befooled by the spirit and led to false conclusions. But thanks to Lord Van Zieks and our young lawyer here from the east, that chain has now been broken and the spirit exorcised. I heartily commend you both.
Oh,
Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
Yes, my lord.
In concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decisions regarding the defendant's culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court?
As the foreman of this jury, I can assure you we've reached a fair and just conclusion.
I do declare the truth can be extremely cruel at times.
Well, I didn't suspect the woman next to me, that's for sure.
Sin and full old bean washes out of action, you know. But I know what a decision would be.
Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out of here and start work? Well, it's about time.
I say, I'll have a cork of a story to tell grandchildren when I get home, won't I?
Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby amend your final decisions. Mr. Foreman?
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Victory!
Overwhelming innocence.
Very well. Mr. Soseki Natsume, I hereby pronounce you not guilty.
Yay! Yay! What am I thinking of? Yay! It was something from Zelda. Yay!
And finally, Mr. Natsume,
Oh, yes, Lord Sir.
you are now a free man once more. It is my hope that you will continue to further your education in British culture, and may you never again be brought before me.
Oh, yes, sir, of course. Of my life, I swear I'll never step foot in a courtroom again. I'm transported to tears.
Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned.
Yay!
Oh, locum.
Wait, you mean me?
Of course. Is there another locum here?
Is there even one? Compared to the original locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, your name has become rather short, hasn't it? What's wrong with using my actual name?
Oh, alas, I'm free. I'm free. Joyful, joyous, jubilant jubilation. Heady, hearty happiness, hurrah!
Oh, I am pleased. Sir Tsume is delighted.
Would it be so hard to just say that, then?
Locum, you did it. You saved me from the brink.
Well, what happened to the poor woman, it was in no way your fault, after all. I'm just glad everyone can see that now.
No, that's not that. Lovely, loyal locum lawyer.
Yes?
I mean, as I said before, I just never got used to the life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners. I see towering brick buildings. And from high up windows, I see them looking down on me laughing. Look at that little hunchback.
Oh dear, I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume.
But today, you locum lawyer gave my gloom the boot. You stood firm behind the baronial bench before those babbling British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. And when I beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold the best barrister ever born!"
Well, that's very flattering, and we're very pleased for you.
This has given me a wonderful anecdote to recount to my old friends back in Japan.
Ah, an anecdote. Is that what's become of all my hard work? Oh, there you are, my dear fellows.
Hey, I apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose up late this morning.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, what a pleasure to see you.
I see I am not here not a moment too soon. A disaster has been averted, I am glad to say.
Oh,
The trial shall begin presently, Mr. Naruhodo, and I wish you the very best of luck. It's just finished.
What? No! That's my case been in way vain!
It's you, Herlock Sholmes.
Oh? Have we met, sir?
this is Mr. Natsume, the man you had arrested, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, I see. I failed to recognize you at first. While our previous encounters have been taking place in the gloom, either of your bleak lodgings or of that a prison cell. I simply couldn't place a curious face in the light. Charming.
This is all your fault, Hairlock Sholmes. You're the reason I had to go through this terrible ordeal. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind.
My apologies, sir, but I assure you, I placed you now. You're the fellow who abandoned that poor young lady and ran off, are you not? Had she been taken to the hospital more urgently, I feel perhaps she would have regained consciousness by now.
Oh.
But it was unavoidable, I'm sure. We are but human, after all. Anyone would have been shaken by an experience.
I do feel very badly about how I behaved.
Well, never mind now then. What was it that you wanted to say to me, sir?
Nothing.
Priceless. Oh, I am sorry, really, but that was quite priceless. Poor Soseki-san. Still, on the bright side, you've had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. And it would seem you were not even found guilty.
But there is no bright side.
What do you mean, Mr. Natsume?
Even after this, I'm still cursed by the spirits and now by the Reaper.
Ah, Lord Van Zeeks.
I haven't forgotten, you know, what facing that man in court means. Even if you're found not guilty, you're still doomed.
It will be alright, Mr. Natsume.
Huh?
If the Reaper appears trying to make it trouble, I'll protect you. Hiya!
What? Why am I the one hurt?
With a perfectly executed Suicide takedown.
Much as I like being turned on my head, a bit of a warning might be nice next time, Mrs. Otto. So, Mr. Natsume, what do you intend to do now? You mentioned something about recounting your experiences to your friends back in Japan. Yes, I intend to return to my homeland soon.
Oh,
It has already been a year since I arrived here in Great Britain. I visited universities, libraries, bookshops. I've been honored with the tutelage of professors. I've learned so much about the wealth of literature here and the city has shaped. And I've come to realize that it is my calling to stay home and tell my fellow countrymen about it.
that's very touching, Mr. Natsume.
Or, perhaps in this veiled terms, you wish to withdraw half a way around the world to escape the terror of the Reaper's curse.
That's not at all. The more I learn the literature, the more this strange feeling claws at my insides. I feel compelled to return to my roots and attempt to pen a work of my own.
Oh, I see. A work of literature by Soseki-san could be an interesting read. And what about Miss Susato and yourself, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry, what about us? Will you return to Japan alongside your mustached compatriot? Why would we?
A week has not yet passed since we arrived in London. Only now does it feel as though we finally found our feet.
And you are accommodated in a hotel at present, are you not? That's right, but we need to find lodgings before it bankrupts us.
I've calculated we can only afford another 10 nights before our entire budget is exhausted.
Well then, you could take my lodgings. Oh, the windowless room. But it lacks in windows. It's more than makes up for with a floor, a ceiling, and walls.
Great.
And of course, I'd be happy to leave behind the accursed evil spirit.
Oh my, an evil spirit.
Oh yes, free of charge. It tries to suffocate you while you sleep. It's an infallible wake-up call.
Well, you make a compelling argument. Well, think about it, if that's alright. Perhaps I can offer a more welcome alternative. Would you consider taking lodgings with me?
Really?
Well, a vacancy has conveniently presented itself, though it is up in the attic, I might add. Are you sure it isn't just a storage loft? I spoke with the landlady this very morning on the matter of the price, and Iris is cleaning the room as we speak. You must come at once. I presume you have no luggage to speak of.
Oh, this is simply wonderful. What an honor to be invited to taking lot into the great detective's office. Attic. I'm too overcome for words.
So, suggesting we look elsewhere is out then. Then it's settled. Iris will prepare a welcome dinner this evening. And you must come too, Mr. Natsume. I insist.
I don't know what to say. But thank you, and yes.
Wonderful. Then I'll go and complete the paperwork for formal release, Mr. Natsume. It shan't take long.
Somebody's happy.
Locum, I knew that you wouldn't let me down. I'm truly delighted to have met you here in London.
Likewise, Mr. Natsume. It's been a privilege meeting you, too. It's a shame that we're going to have to say goodbye so soon.
Well, I've come to realize that I belong in Japan. But Locum, we will meet again one day.
Yeah, I'm sure. And hopefully by then, I'll be a successful lawyer.
Hopefully by then, I'll be a successful author.
Well, my dear fellow, our carriage appears to have arrived. Shall we go, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, Mr. Sholmes. I've little doubt that Mr. Natsume will be released in time for dinner this evening. And so, with Soseki-san's innocence successfully established, we rode with Mr. Sholmes to what was to become our new home, 221B Baker Street. 20th February, attic room. All things considered, if you can just get like a sleeping bag in here, it's not terrible. It looks nice. So this
This will be our new office, yes.
our office. I rather like the sound of that.
Me too. It's simply wonderful, isn't it?
I hope you can see this, Kazuma. It's only a small step. But I'd like to think that we're getting a little closer to your dream now. So, my dear fellows, how do you like the place?
Oh gosh, he has his equipment off.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes.
Hi, Mr. Sholmes. Yes, thank you so much.
It's a delightful room, Mr. Sholmes. I simply adore it.
Good, I'm pleased to hear it. Iris and I are delighted to welcome you.
I hope everyone's hungry. It's nearly time for dinner. Oh yes, as soon as Mr. Natsume arrives, we have a lot to celebrate. Iris, you must let me help you. Alright then, Susie. You can be in charge of this gun. No, of this salad. Splendid.
Hi. So, Mr. Naruhodo, how's it feel? To have your own office in the capital. It's very exciting, actually. I can't help wondering what adventures await us. Those were precisely my sentiments when I first established my office at these premises. Until I discovered the dark truth about the city of London, that is. Sorry? London is a glorious place, full of wonder, opportunity, prosperity, and mirth. But the brightest of lights cast the darkest of shadows. Shadows? What do you mean? Well, I believe you're well aware of the murkiness that lies behind London's facade already. So, once again, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London. Of course, at the time, I had no idea the significance of those words Mr. Sholmes so casually spoke. But it wasn't long before my turn came to lift the facade and see the true depths of the murk that lay behind it. And let's continue for a little bit now. Episode 5, The Adventure of the Unspeakable Story. The Hound of the Baskervilles. I think I...
It's coming! Sholmes's cry pierced through the thick wall of fog around us. Wisps of vapor flowed over the pistol as I cocked it, and I waited, breathlessly, in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity, until, at last, it appeared. From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames. Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear. "Look well, Wilson," Sholmes declared, gazing upon the mystical beast. "For this is the diabolical hound of the Baskervilles."
Hound of the Baskervilles, alright. Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. In that disconcerting courtroom experience we were first thrown into on the day we arrived in the country, and so Seki saw as a terrible ordeal that followed closely behind, we had emerged victorious. However, there then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court. Which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur. An unknown student of law from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. 15. Naruhodo's legal What? Hello? Here's my room. That morning, I was woken up by an unreserved knocking on the door by the telegram boy. But after he'd gone, Suzawa-san's behavior became very obviously strange. Suzawa-san?
Yes. Is it time to leave for court already? Let me see. What case is it today?
I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I?
Oh, no, of course not. How silly of me.
But I think Iris said she would make us breakfast after this morning. So, shall we go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite?
Yes. Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food.
She does, doesn't she?
And once our bellies are full, we can leave for court in fine fit form. Let me see. What case is it today?
Here we go again. Allow me to examine things. Game. Was the game not? Okay. It's spring at last and the weather is warmer now. But I love the smell of the fire and the steam rising from the kettle.
Oh, would you like some tea, Naruhodo-san?
Thank you, Suzawa-san, but I'm alright for now. The green tea Suzawa-san makes for me from time to time and Iris's unique herbal infusions. This place is paradise for the true tea lover.
Green tea is such a wonderful accompaniment to British tea cakes, don't you think?
Shovel. That spade has been here since we started renting the place.
Oh, that's not a spade, Naruhodo-san. That's a shovel.
No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade.
No, spades are for digging. As for scooping up loose material, it's a shovel.
I don't want to dig a hole for myself, so let's leave it. A mop. Daruma doll. Ah, the Daruma doll I brought with me from home. Still is only one eye colored in. I said I colored the other eye once I won my first court case here in Britain, but
you haven't won, have you? Twice, in fact. But you have won, haven't you? Twice, in fact.
Because I feel as though I'm still lacking as a lawyer. I tell you what, why don't you color the other eye in once you think I'm a proper, fully fledged lawyer?
If you insist.
My desk. We've only been here in London for about 2 months, but my desk is starting to look like a little messy already.
You could tidy up once in a while.
Susana-san, I'm always say, making a mess is a small sacrifice to pay for being able to further your studies. And that time spent tidying up is time you can't devote to the same cause.
And time spent on ridiculous arguments is time that could be better spent on some simple housework.
She wins, but I'm supposed to be the lawyer here. This little table. Oh, it's supposed to be the telegram. Let's see.
No, you mustn't look at that. Not under any circumstances.
Alright, I won't.
I'm so sorry, Naruhodo-san, but you can be very mischievous at times.
Then put the telegram away if you don't want people looking at it. So this is the tea set that Susana-san brought with her from Japan. Let's hope she hasn't noticed me slipping some sugar and milk in my cup when she makes it. It's just so bitter.
Tea is a drink to be enjoyed, Naruhodo-san. You really don't have to force yourself to drink it, you know. I don't like to see you screw up your face so.
AKA, she realizes, I'm assuming, that we put this stuff in. Mission failed. Alright, what else we got here? There's an aquarium. We were rather lucky to find that old aquarium left behind here. The prawns we're put in there are doing rather well, and the anemones too.
It's a wonderful invention, isn't it? The sea, behind glass, inside your room. Another example of Great Britain's greatness.
Having to clean it out and change the water isn't so great though, is it? Do you know, I've never once seen you inside your room I've never once seen inside your room there, son. I've never even peeped inside.
I should think so, too. Young Main's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know.
Whatever you say, young maiden. Golly. Alright, think I'm good. Present. Look at this.
It means a great deal to me, you know. How you cherish his armband so, and wear it each time you appear in court.
Well, it's very important to me. It's what shows I'm a lawyer. And whenever I wear it, I feel as though it gives me strength through Kazuma. I absolutely can't be without it, especially when I'm at a critical point in a trial.
But just the other day, I noticed you wearing it when we went to visit that park.
Sometimes I forget to take it off. Still done. So, what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean.
Oh, a telegram. I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry, but you're not gonna get away with that.
Well, I didn't think I would. Actually, I don't give it a moment's thought. It's nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. It was just a boring old telegram.
That's 3 times now that she's tried and failed to convince me it was nothing.
I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point.
Alright, I understand. I suppose the Seki-san will have arrived back in Japan by now, won't he?
Yes, I should think so. He left immediately after that terrible ordeal. Which would mean he should have completed the voyage already, or be a few days away.
A fortnight ago, we had that very long telegram from him, do you remember? Complaining of seasickness? But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well.
Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san?
I was just wondering, what might have become of the Soseki-san had he stayed in London, that's all.
You mean, as regards Lord Van Zeeks, the Reaper?
Yeah, I can't but wonder if seasickness would have paled into insignificance in that case. The Reaper. What is it they say? No one who stands in the dock can be saved from the Reaper, right? Like the way that Nightmare's trial ended on the very day we arrived in London.
Even 2 months up now. The cause of that dreadful fire is still a mystery.
Yeah, but at least the Seki-san is safely out of the country now. Presumably that means...
That the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps?
If that's the case, it's a little comfort. I have a terrible sense of foreboding.
If the legend of the Reaper is to be believed, it would mean he wields the sword of justice himself.
Come to think of it, I wonder what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants.
No, I don't think so. Apparently, Lord Van Zees hasn't appeared in court once since our last encounter.
Oh?
Yes, since Oseki-san's trial, he's withdrawn from judicial service again, it seems.
Really? Just like before, when he wasn't seen in court at all for several years. So it's just been me he's had to face in his recent spate of trials then. Ugh, just my luck.
I wonder if luck doesn't come into it.
Sorry? What was that?
Oh, nothing. Never mind.
Chums! Chum sweet.
Morning, Runo. Morning, Susie. Good morning, Iris.
Iris.
What is it, Runo?
What is that terrible noise? It sounds like a cat being strangled.
Yes. You know that, did you?
Chums?
Hurley isn't in the best form this morning, it seems.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, Mr. Sholmes?
Good morning? A good morning to die, perhaps. Has something happened, Mr. Shums? Are you good? You look miserable in the way you were playing the violin before. My analytical mind is dead. Music is dead. The world is dead. I shut VR into the wall, apparently.
Damn this blasting existence!
That's all it is, my dear fellow. Nothing of consequence.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Some dry toast and insipid coffee for me, if it's so not too much trouble. Cat.
It's not so much cat. Your baby.
Oh look, it's Waga High. Good morning, boy.
Good morning, boy.
That must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. But how did it get there?
Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris.
It would indeed be a fine day to die. I knew something looked different. Oh yeah, that whole thing's gone. Something's missing from Mr. Chum's desk. Depressed Chums. Hi there. Start from right to left. This is Iris' side of the room. Alright. Come to think of it, I haven't seen Iris doing much writing recently. But there's paper already set up in the typewriter. Look, it's as if she's about to start.
That reminds me, when I mentioned
Iris, I got Yanni. No.
When I mentioned that Iris was in the process of writing a full-fledged novel, Mr. Natsume was most impressed.
Ah, yeah, Mr. Natsume.
That's what I'll be doing too once I'm back in Japan, he said, though through tightly clenched teeth and fists.
anything is medicine. That's a charming little white shelf, and full of charming little bottles too. But the contents of them aren't quite so charming, it seems.
Science is the future, Mr. Naruto. You can't deny it. I'm saving my money so I can buy some chemistry apparatus as well.
Law, chemistry, takedown throws. What diverse skills do you boast, Miss Susato?
As useful as they are, I'm not sure that throwing skills are worthy of inclusion on that list.
But they strong. Iris's beautiful tea says there on the table as usual. A cup of one of her special herbal blends always helps me to relax when I'm feeling the strain.
The English pastime of tea has many similarities with our own tea ceremony customs, don't you think? It's the idea of hospitality behind it. That's the idea of tea.
Whoops. This is where Iris notes down ideas, isn't it? Let's see, what does it say today? Ah, the Buscom Valley Mystery.
Oh, how intriguing! It must be the title of Iris's latest work. Oh my, I wonder what fantastic tale awaits us.
Susato looks like an angel, but I bet she's dreaming of the most unsavory crime you can imagine. These are all mementos of Mr. Shone's past cases, I think. If he'd been involved in my case, I wonder if the beefsteak from Le Carnaval would be on display here.
A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. Ah, what an entrancing collection.
It looks like an untidy assortment of junk to me, rather like what's on my own shelves.
Well, you really ought to learn to keep your things in order, Mr. Naruto.
No favoritism there at all. None. Zero. Zilch. Za. Zip zap zip. Hi. I don't know why, but the speeding child coming into view is hilarious to me. Hello, child. Chest. Looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. Seems very sturdy, with an equally sturdy lock.
Mr. Naruto, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous.
How did you come to that conclusion? Well, this might be a bit abrupt, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and end it for today. I probably won't be streaming tomorrow, but I hopefully will be streaming the day after, should conditions be favorable. But until then, thank you for watching, and see you later. That's not grindy.